Your image of the homeless in the St. Louis area may be men and women rallying for a tent city so they can get off park benches and out of alleys. What you don't see are the scores of children sleeping on couches, in cars, or at campgrounds because they don't have a home.
The number of homeless children has risen by at least 30% since the start of the recession. This week, KMOX's Megan Lynch looks at the impact on these young souls.
We had to sleep all together.
8-year-old Justin talks about piling onto a motel bed with his 3 younger siblings and mom Charlene. A broken marriage left her with no income and no place to go. At first, she moved in with a sister.
If you have a lot of children, nobody is really always welcoming for all the children because of their own stress levels.
When they wore out their welcome, it was on to another sister's, one with 5 kids of her own.
It was just really tough. You imagine maybe 9 kids in one place, 3 adults.
Working 2 jobs and going to school, Charlene couldn't find a place they could afford. No shelter had room for a mom with 4 kids. So it was the motel, the cost eating into what limited funds and aid she had for childcare, gasoline, even food.
When you don't have enough money, you can't live.
She tried to keep it all from her children.
It's not something that I really would talk about with them, because when you talk to kids about that, you can actually overwhelm them because they don't understand.
But maybe they do.
I felt sad about it because we didn't do any work and we just left our mom doing all the work.
Megan Lynch, Newsradio 1120 KMOX.
Homeless children lag behind their classmates. That's in our next report.
There's been a dramatic increase in the number of homeless kids over the past 5 years. You probably won't see them on the street, even though they're living like nomads. KMOX's Megan Lynch continues our series of reports.
They're living on somebody's couch. They're living on grandma's couch. They're living on the friend's couch.
Pam Struckoff, Director of Program Services at Saints Joachim and Care Service in St. Charles.
Families go to campgrounds. They go under bridges. They sleep in their cars on the school parking lots.
Once a week, they line the sidewalk outside the center, waiting their turn to grab a cart and fill it with groceries. Struckoff has seen a demand for services soar, and not from who you might picture as the typical homeless person.
Some of the people we see have master's degrees, doctorates.
Their children have gone from stable homes to turmoil.
There's a loss of community. There's a loss of routines. There's a loss of privacy. There's, a loss of security.
Many kids change schools repeatedly as their family is uprooted time and again.
Homeless children have higher rates of learning disabilities. They're more likely to repeat a grade because the same teachers don't see them. There's no routine, no consistency for them.
Homeless children get bullied by classmates who may see them get on the bus from a motel parking lot. Struckoff says a lack of high-paying jobs and affordable housing are preventing many of these families from getting back on their feet. Megan Lynch, Newsradio 1120 KMOX.
What happens when homeless children have children of their own? That's in our next report. What would you think if you saw a child standing at an intersection with a cardboard sign asking to work for food?
We may not see them on the street, but as you've heard this week on KMOX, there are scores of homeless children in this region. As KMOX's Megan Lynch tells us, some of those kids have babies of their own.
The Playroom of Almost Home in St. Louis, a one-of-a-kind shelter for teen moms ages 12 to 19 and their children. Executive Director Rhonda Gray says many are caught in a cycle of homelessness.
They either have parents who are incarcerated or drug addicted, substance abusers, or, family members who just are in such crises themselves.
For Tamara, her dad was in prison. She says her mom didn't care. They lost their apartment and drifted from house to house, hotel to motel.
Cheap, terrible motels, drug dealers there. It was all types of prostitution going on.
Tamara even lived in a park.
Asked friends for money to eat and asked my friends to wash up in their house and kind of go to convenience stores and wash up there.
She was fortunate enough to be placed at Almost Home 7 days after her son was born. Tyresha says she was kicked out of her home after she reported sexual abuse by a family member.
My mother had told me that she did not want me anymore. That really hurt for a family member, especially your mother, to tell you that.
She struggled in foster homes and couldn't make it on her own.
I remember one day my daughter didn't have diapers. I had to wrap her up in one of my shirts.
It's very difficult to find a foster home or adoption options for a young woman and her child.
Almost Home can house 15 teenagers and their children. Last year, they got nearly 300 requests. Rhonda Gray hopes to save some by giving them stability, teaching them life skills, and pushing them to complete school.
They almost always say, I don't want my child to go through this.
Megan Lynch, Newsradio 1120 KMOX.